This presentation is not about medicine or injuries, so the topic shifts away from medicine to performance in this presentation and the next presentation, so hopefully you're okay with that. I am a performance analysis researcher based in Australia at Deakin University, and this represents my second research project only in the context of cricket, but I plan to do more in the future. This project was also conducted with a student of mine, Mr. Tom Fary. Performance analysts, when they look at performance in sport, they deconstruct it and think about the components that explain overall performance in sport. And a typical approach in this process is to think about performance as being comprised of mental or psychological performance, physical or psychological performance, technical performance, tactical performance, and there might be other components as well that you can think of. It depends on the sport. In this presentation, I'm focusing only on technical performance, and just in case you don't have a good working definition of technical and tactical performance, what I mean when I talk about technical performance is simply the execution of a technical skill, like bowling a ball or catching, hitting, playing a shot, etc. And the variables that performance analysts use to measure technical performance are often really just simply counting the number of actions that have been performed by a player or a team, but also the outcomes of those actions, how many shots played, but what are the subsets of the outcomes of those shots. And there are also variables or performance indicators, that's a term you'll hear me use a lot in this presentation, that represent relative performance. They're ratios between two performance indicators. So what do we know about optimal team technical performance in T20 cricket? The first paper that was published was back in 2009 by Douglas and Tam, and what they attempted to do was, using a relatively small data set and a relatively narrow range of performance indicators that represent the traditional match statistics that are broadcast and written about in cricket, they attempted to identify which of those variables that represent technical performance explain whether a team wins or loses a T20 match. And here they are ranked in order, at least the order that Douglas and Tam found. And there's probably no surprises in that list. If you watch cricket, that all makes a lot of sense. The next paper in 2012 confirmed some of what Douglas and Tam found in 2009, but one of their novel findings was that successful T20 teams also tended to take more of their wickets as LBWs as opposed to other forms of dismissals. And then the third paper published on this topic was in 2017, and again, a lot of confirmation of what had been published and a lot of confirmation of what coaches and players already know about what constitutes optimal performance in cricket. Although interestingly, they found the number of dot balls was the most important factor, which I find very surprising. So these studies are good, but their limitations were that there was no women's cricket there, and they used fairly narrow ranges of variables and numbers of games to analyse. So last year I published a paper with a research student, Pardiwala, and we looked at the professional T20 league in Australia, and we kind of repeated what these other papers had done. We were trying to understand which performance indicators that represent team technical performance explain whether teams win or lose games. And we were also trying to understand which ones are the most important ones that coaches and captains should pay attention to when they're analysing performance, but equally which match stats don't matter. Not from record keeping. Record keeping is an important thing, but from an analysis of team performance, there are some match stats that are collected that have no association at all with match outcome. And you would waste your time if you focused on them too much. So there's the list of the top 6 performance indicators that we found that explained whether teams won or lost their T20 matches in that professional league. We did a couple of novel things. One was calculating the values of traditional performance indicators, but in stages of innings. So we divided an innings into 3 stages. The first stage is the first 6 overs, the second stage is the middle 10, and the third stage is the final 4 overs. And so we found that run rate is really, really important, but not so much in the first stage. Boundary is very important. Number of balls taken to, delivered to take the first 3 wickets, and a couple of others. And we also did this in our women's professional league. And you can see here from this list of performance indicators that they're very similar to the men's T20 league, but they are a little bit different as well in a slightly different order. There's a good discussion to be had about that, but not scope for that in this presentation. So collectively, these studies provide an evidence base to help coaches and selectors and captains think about tactical planning for matches, thinking about what kind of players should we select, what aspects of technical team performance should we focus on when we compete, what are the optimal characteristics of team performance in T20 that are going to increase our likelihood of win. But then the next question that you might ask is, is this static? Have these always been the optimal characteristics of team performance, or do they change over time? Are they changing now? Will these optimal characteristics be different in 5 years, in 10 years? And so this is something that the media speculate about as well. I'm sure you've thought about this as well, whether T20 is changing or whether other forms of cricket are changing. And on the right-hand side of this slide is the cover of a book written by a pair of great analysts from the UK who also speculated about apparent trends in cricket. So all of this led to the rationale for this analysis, which is about forecasting how players will need to play in the near future, how teams will need to play to win, to support the work of coaches, assisting their decision-making about the design of training programs and match strategies, and all importantly, possibly influencing team selection, understanding, the balance of great batters and bowlers in your team selection process. So the formal research questions were really about asking the question, in T20, is there any evidence that there are trends? If so, in what team technical performance indicators or team characteristics of technical performance appear to be changing? Are they more prevalent in batting, bowling, or fielding characteristics? And do those trends differ in the most recent 5-year period? So the method for the analysis was dependent on finding an appropriate data set, given it's an historical analysis of trends. I can't just collect data from the last season of any league I want. Obviously, you need a long-term database. So I had to use a database that pre-existed, data that other people had collected. So I used IPL data from the very first season that ended in 2009, actually, all the way through to 2021, and I didn't have access to data beyond that. So it's a little over a decade, 845 matches, and this data is publicly available to everyone, including you. The raw data was actually ball by ball data, so we had to write the code to process the data to calculate the values of all of the technical performance indicators in those stages, those 3 stages of the innings, and that was all done in a programming language called R. The actual statistical analysis was really simple. This is a very kind of modest study. It was just using a Mann-Kendall test to identify the presence of trends or not. So this is a non-parametric test that can detect both linear and non-linear trends, and where there were trends, we just did some simple linear regressions to visualize those. And all of that was applied across the full 2009 to 21 and in the last 5 seasons. These were the performance indicators that we used, and bear in mind that almost all of these were analysed as a total value for a whole innings, but also per innings stage for 3 innings. And in the bottom right-hand corner, there was another part of this where we also looked at subsets of dismissals to understand whether there are any changes in the way the way wickets were taken. There are a lot of results. I can't bombard you with a huge number of trend graphs. I have to be a bit more time efficient. So I'm presenting my results as tables, which is terribly dull. So I'm going to direct your attention to specific rows. First of all, this is a table of the bowling performance indicators. And the p-value column represents whether the Mann-Kendall test found a significant trend or not. And as you can see, yes, for almost all of the performance indicators, there was a significant trend evident in the data. But I want to point out the most important ones. So total runs scored is on a positive trend. So that means it's increasing over time. The next couple of important ones possibly explain the total runs scored, run rate in stage 2 and 3, and then that's also possibly because the number of 50-run partnerships is increasing. These are the bowling performance indicators, and it's a very different story here. These are negative trends. So we've got a decrease in runs from extras, which reflects actually a positive for bowling attack, but number of total dot balls is on the decline, which is not great, and wickets taken in stage 1, the first 6 overs, is also on a negative trend, so that's bad for bowling performance. And we also looked at subsets of dismissals, and one of the most important ones, wickets by runouts, is decreasing over time. And this is something that Candice, another presenter, revealed in her presentation as well. But wickets taken as catches in the field is on a positive trend. There were lots of statistically significant Mann-Kendall tests, but it's important to look at the raw data to see if the actual trend is meaningful, practically meaningful or not. And so this graph shows you the raw data, and it shows you how shallow the slope is on this linear regression for total runs per inning. So while there is a trend, it's a very slow moving trend. And the same can be said for dot balls per innings. It does exist, but it's very gradual. I'm going to skip over this one because of time, straight to conclusions, which taken collectively, the results imply that in the IPL, there is a trend of improving batting performance by teams and a trend of declining bowling performance by teams, although these trends seem to be flattening out in the last 5 seasons. And I'll just finish with a statement here about the significance in that I can't find anyone else who's looked at these kinds of trends in cricket, so this might be a first, and that there's some practical implications for these results, but they do depend, I think, on looking at the results in detail and not basing it on my brief presentation today. Thanks for your time.